I'm Bobby Miller. I'm here today with a friend of mine, and we want you to hear our message. I'm Bobby Miller, and this is Nancy Getman.
Thank you. I'm so thrilled to be here with Bobby because this is an opportunity to awake America, to awake San Antonio, to awake the nation of these problems that are coming to us secretly, deceptively. And we need to expose this so that everyone can do something about it that wants to. And so we're trying to educate everyone about this. So I'm Nancy Getman with Christian Coalition, and Bobby Mueller came with another friend several times to educate our ministry meetings on what was happening. And I was such alarming. Everybody was alarmed and shocked. And we had many candidates on the mayor forum, and all of them addressed this issue because they didn't even know about it before. So what we're trying to do right now is alert our nation to what the problems are and what can be done to offset this.
I've been involved in politics and community service since the 60s. So I have a natural inclination to want to reach others when I know the truth, and people don't seem to know what's going on. I can't hold myself down without calling in the media and calling people I know and getting invited to different organizations so we can present the facts and try to keep our community safe. That's important to me. I saw the film Take Back Your Power, and if you haven't seen it, I would suggest that you get it on the internet and watch it. There are several versions. One is a shorter version, which runs about an hour, I'm told. Now, this version I have runs more than an hour, but there is one available less time. But what's important is it's a very good documentation of what's happening across the country and across the world in other countries as well with smart meters. And smart is a misnomer because it's not very smart. It has many hazards attached to these meters being put on your home. Now, Nancy, I'd like to read a paragraph out of this website right here that I think is excellent, and it gives an overview of the problem with smart meters. I better put on my glasses, excuse me here. Several weeks ago, the occasion arose to view the screening of this video that I just showed you. You can officially get on the trailer, of course, on the website just by typing in Take Back Your Power. The 2013 National Security Agency, NSA, which we've heard about, spying scandal exposed vast programs to monitor your personal communications. Now, energy utilities and governments are reaching into your own home through fast-track smart meters and spy-ready technology. But what you have is a choice at stake in your home: surveillance, increasing bills, emerging health risks, and more hacking vulnerabilities. A smart grid is an electrically distribution network that utilizes smart meters. A smart meter is a wireless, hardwired, two-way communication device that connects your home or business and broadcasts your personal information and energy use habits to the electric grid company. Now, I want to show you a diagram, if you can swing the camera around, Harry.
Yes,
To this picture right here. Can you zoom in on that?
I'm there.
That's a picture of a smart meter. And if you have one that looks like that, it's probably news to you. You may not know you have one, but it's digital. It has the reading of the meter counts the number of volts, I guess, is it
Watts.
watts that you're using in your home through turning on your lights and your TV and that. So it's not cheap and it's not green like you've been told, and it's not healthy and it's not safe because they do have been blamed for fires. In fact, in Nevada, the state of Nevada, 140,000 homes the smart meters were removed from the homes there because they had had so many fires that they didn't want any more. They weren't taking any more chances. And then nations have taken them away from their homes because they don't want the risks that are involved with smart meters. I don't know how the United States has managed to have these all over the nation and have our people be so uninformed about the risks with the smart meters. That's a hard thing to call. But anyway, we're working, trying to get the news out because can cause health hazards, health risks to especially babies, young children, and the elderly.
I know I was very much in shock at our meetings, and many people were in shock also. And it was birthed in my heart to have a video like this someday to help warn the people of all these things. Because when you have CPS versus citizens, they're not going to be heard. It's going to have to take a group of people to come to it. Now, I love Governor Rick Perry. He's a wonderful governor, but he made a couple of mistakes, and one was that he signed that people can opt out of smart meters, but they still have to pay a lot of money. So it needs to be done that we need to opt out and not pay any money, because in fact we shouldn't even have to have it, because we should vote it out, because it costs twice as much as $290 million out of the people's pockets, and I believe that was Texas, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
no,
yeah.
that's San Antonio.
Oh, San Antonio.
Uh-huh.
Okay, $290 million out of the taxpayers' pocket that they don't need to pay. Okay, if they had the regular analog meters that we have now.
The analog meter is one with a disc that you see revolving.
You might want to add
Okay,
that.
the how do you say?
Analog.
Meter has a disc that revolves, and that's how you can tell if you have it. It's in metal, and the other one is plastic, right?
Yeah.
And so the plastic, not only is it $290 million above, but it's also, the smart meters have to be replaced twice as much. So it's every 15 years, you have to multiply times 2, which is like 580 million out of our pockets. So, and it's every 15 years, while the other old meters that we have now, that some of us still have,
Lasted 50 years.
last 50 years. So we need to make everybody aware that they need to petition, they need to get after the governors, the elected officials, to vote out and stay away from the smart meters. And all of the things that have happened with these smart meters. The shock to me was you might catch cancer from this, the things they put in the water. And another thing that let's see, it causes fires for the older homes. It also,
Well, the fires have been sparked from, they believe, smart meters, and they didn't want to take a chance, like, for instance, in Nevada, so they removed 140,000 smart meters. It must have cost them a fortune, but that in itself is worth not fooling around with those electric wires. You know, here we are, we're not electricians and trying to explain something very technical, but we're scared of them. And I live in an old place, and I don't want them fooling with our wires any more than anyone else. And what else other point was there? Let me think a minute that you brushed on. Oh, the cancer. Smart meters emit radio frequencies or microwaves in the amount of up to 140,000 a day. And the problem that a smart meter versus a cell phone is on only when you're using it, and it's searching for a signal when you're turning on and getting ready to make a call. On a smart meter, it's on 24 hours, 7 days a week, 365 times a year, and it's never off. So what you're getting is a continual dose of electromagnetic frequencies or microwave radiation. And that word just chills my bones. It's not right to put this upon our citizens. It's not right to do, and I think there's some money going under the table. And I'm sure that I'd have to prove that, but there's some reason why the energy companies are so devoted to making us accept these dangerous meters.
Okay, this is what we're mainly concerned with, reaching the community, to let the community rise up, whether it's city council run or co-op run or however you run, but we want to reach whatever company, electric company that you have from your city or your county, so that you can reach them and say, we don't want smart meters. And you do what you need to, so that, because then we won't get cancer or fires in your homes, or there was something else.
Well, pay huge bills.
Pay huge bills, and you know, on your tax dollars will go up. So everything will be hurting them, and they will think it's smart, but it's not smart. And for an example, I have a friend who was told that she had to have smart meters or she wouldn't get the water. And she said, no, I don't want the smart meters. So they cut off her water and she had to move out.
And that brings up the subject is the smart meters aren't just for electric power, they are for the water and the gas as well.
Right. And that what happened to your complex?
Well, in a multifamily housing, our energy company does not allow you to opt out at all. You have to take whatever the energy company provides you, and that is no choice at all for those residents in apartments, in nursing homes, in condominiums or apartment complexes. You can't opt out, and so you are a victim of our energy company. They're not going to allow you a choice to live in a safe environment. So it really bothers me. And here we have a complex of 105 residents, and in 19 buildings, we have multiple meters on each building. We live in a multifamily complex, a condominium of 105 units. 105 apartments are spread out in 19 buildings. On each building will be multiple meters to accommodate the number of residents that live in that building. If you do the math, you'll see that puts one resident in definite disadvantage, because that one resident will have a bank of meters on a wall. It so happens that on my bedroom wall I have 5. But we know an individual has 20, I think, 20 on his. That's Oliver. And so if you can't opt out in a multifamily complex, then you have the bank of meters. You're likely to have a bank of meters on your bedroom wall or on your kitchen wall. So that's 5 times the danger that you have with 1 meter. And the problem to me is we are not given a choice. Those people, your daughter, your grandmother, who lives in an apartment complex or in a nursing home or in a condominium, is being a victim of the circumstances. And it's not fair, it's not right, it's not American. And later on we'll show you, we'll demonstrate it.
Okay.
I want to bring up a part of this video, but I hope that you'll go and watch it for yourself. But in this video is a gentleman who's now retired, who was a spy in Russia during a period of time when the Russians were running an experiment on radio frequencies or radiation. They put in the embassy the RFs to experiment on what would happen to the employees of the United States in the embassy. And he is alive to tell us what occurred, and he tells the story here. But like 16, I want to say 16 out of 18, something like that, employees died of cancer. Well, WHO, the World Health Organization, recognizes RFs as being a carcinogen to be, and they're thinking of upgrading it now, from what I understand, to an A rather than B, because they have more and more evidence of the damage that it's doing to our bodies. This gentleman was busy, he's retired, and he was looking forward to retirement so he could go to the workshop and build and do some things. And she said, Dad, I'd really like for you to look into the smart meter, because the same technology you told me about using while you were with the government is the same technology that is in the smart meter. And so he said he promised her he would look into it, and he did. And he said, now I have not go back to my workshop. All I'm doing is traveling across the United States, giving these presentations. So it's very much worth your time to go into this video and watch his presentation. Another story that you'll find in this video is a mother of a son who is now deceased, died of cancer, too young to die of cancer, was a student at a college in California. 3 years after his death, the mother went back to that college campus because she was bothered by the fact that her son had gotten cancer, brain cancer, so young, and she wanted to visit the room in which he lived when he was in college. So she got into the room, they let her there, go in, and she looked out the window and she saw that there was a cell tower that was nearby in like the next lot from her son's apartment. So she asked the question and she started delving into it, and she learned that there were 16 or so other students who died of brain cancer that lived in that same apartment house. So the end of that story is that she learned, and she assumed, of course, probably correctly, that that cell tower had been emitting radiation out over that complex where he lived, and those same 16 that she learned had brain cancer had the same kind of cancer her son did. So we're living in an atmosphere, an environment of all kinds of dangers, and the closer you are to them, the worse it is, I guess, and the more radiation you have in your home, the more dangerous it is for you. So we're against smart meters, and we're fighting to get them out of our environment. I want to introduce you now to Harry Padilla. He is an electrician, retired, and he's a friend of ours, and he helps us on this project often. And I want to introduce you, Harry Padilla. Hey, Harry, go ahead and tell us about the DNA and how it's affected by the smart meter technology.
All right. Thank you, Bobby. Yes, my name is Harry, and I pronounce it Padilla, but Padilla is fine. Okay, I want to tell you about DNA. I've been interested in the Genome Project and the things that deal with the human DNA. All animals have DNA, plants have DNA. In other words, it's the identity of who we are as far as human beings are concerned. DNA is the coding by which we as Homo sapiens the DNA is the pattern by which all cells of the body are replaced. I understand from my study of science that 7 years in a total lifetime of a human being, all of the cells of the body, including bone cells, tissue, brain cells, everything is replaced. Otherwise, how would a baby that is just born ever grow into an adult if it wasn't replacement, process that goes into reproduction? Not only is there reproduction of a new human being, but there's reproductions of all the cells of the body. That baby has to get bigger and stronger. One will grow into a beautiful girl, the other one a handsome young man, okay? And so the DNA, which alarms me, is that this microwave energy of the smart meters puts another dangerous condition on which we as human beings are subjected to every day of our life, because these smart meters, though technological advances, have brought into our presence and our environment a hazard that we're not ready for. It's an unintended consequence, maybe. They thought this is a great breakthrough, of controlling the amount of power you use. And as Bobby said, I'm an electrician, okay? I've had 47 years experience. I'm a long-time industrial electrician, and I think I understand electricity very well. And worked at NASA Ames Research Center and Stanford Linear Accelerator as two places, Stanford University. So I think that I have some credibility. But getting back to the microwave energy, it affects our DNA in ways that only in time we'll suffer the consequences of it, because it's my understanding of biology, and I'm not a biologist, but tremendous curiosity and study into the area, is that DNA can be damaged. And imagine this, your DNA within your body, by which all cells are replaced, cells die. They only have certain amount of replacement. This is the reason, well, I don't know if you can see it, but I don't have a young hand anymore like I used to, same way with the face and so on like that. What happens is that our youth of when we were 20 to 30, when we looked handsome, we looked beautiful and so on like that, begins to diminish, because it's like almost like a battery. You can only charge a rechargeable battery. I've had to buy 2 more replacements on the camera that's recording me here, because it won't take a charge anymore. Same way with our cells. They are not reproducing as well as they used to. And therefore, what comes out and what replaces, in your body is that you begin to look old and so on like that. We all want to stay, beautiful, but it doesn't go that way. You get old. I often wondered when I was a boy, I said, where did all these old people come from? And now I'm an old guy, and so now I know where they come from. And so, but the point that I'm making is that we need to protect ourselves from this energy, because what's going to happen, very now, as we understand a little bit more about it, it's damaging our DNA, and it's going to cause us to reproduce poorly. It's not going to be the sense of reproducing at a better replacement rate and giving us longer longevity and a younger, youthful life, it means that pretty soon you're going to see the effects of people looking older than they should be. Imagine that if you're 40 years old but you look like you're 70 or 80, and you say, how could that happen? It's got to be that our DNA is now being destroyed unintentionally with these smart meters. There are people who research this area. Look it up on the internet. Look up DNA and put it together with smart meters and see what you get. You know, this is a chance for us on the internet to gain knowledge. Other people have done the research. It's just a matter of you for studying them. I also shared with the ladies here that when I moved to San Antonio from California, I decided to get me a really good wireless router for my internet access, together with Time Warner here, supplier, you know, of internet and television. And so I put it in the room in where I had my computer, and that thing was always about 7 to 8 feet away from me all the time when I'm working on my computer. And this particular router had 2 different frequencies. Now, we're not talking about microwave as smart meters are. This was a different frequency for for remote access, but it handled on 2 different frequencies. And then it wasn't long, maybe within 2 to 3 months, all of a sudden I started having the headaches here, and I thought, something is causing it. Everything is cause and effect, especially a person, you know, all my life I have been free of headaches, but no more. This came on really strong, and I thought, what is causing this? And then I thought to myself, that nice router that I bought probably is at the cause of it. So I switched from it to a cable type, so I'm no longer using wireless. And in a short time, all of a sudden, you know, I saw the headache and the pain and so on like that diminish, and it's finally gone. So I got to the root cause of the malady and the reason for my headaches, and it was that router. And so there are things that we subject ourselves. It could be the water you're drinking with fluoride. It might be that there's some degree amount of arsenic in it. I'm going to shoot off a little bit, but the water we drink now is contaminated with, since water is recycled, people who take different drugs and so on like that gets into our water system, and we're taking somebody's prescription, you know, in the water we drink. So I've gotten a little off, but the point is we need to be aware. Are we in some danger? Are we in some danger? I think we are, and I advise you watching this video to find out. If you don't search out the information, then you have yourself to blame for being ignorant of a situation and where you have this potential harm. And we're going to be looking at, I'm the videographer here, and Nancy is over here operating the camera and pointing it at me, but we're going to go look at a bank of meters here pretty soon, and we're going to show you how, when, you know, if 1 meter is bad, imagine having 16 or more
17
meters all together. You know, you are really getting blasted with microwave energy that way. And just like you should not stand in front of your microwave oven and watch your food as it gets warmed up or cooked, because it's dangerous to your, to your eyeballs and your brain. This is outside here, and that also is a danger.
Thank you, Harry.
Yes, which one? I also wanted to mention that because the DNA is affected by this radiation, the unintended consequences, that when a man and a woman, conceive a child, okay? Imagine that if the DNA of the man, DNA of the woman is damaged. And so when they come together, instead of producing a fresh baby with all of the things that should be the healthy man, the healthy woman, that child is now born with a defective DNA. And then what is that going to be? You're probably going to have some kind of unintended mutation. That human being is now made from a defective genes, defective chromosomes, defective DNA. And that poor child is starting off life, with less of a chance than its father and mother did.
To that, Harry.
Okay. Go ahead.
I'd like to add to that, Harry,
Yeah.
that in the projects, we were talking about how they're up to 23 meters I found on one wall in one of the buildings in the projects where the welfare recipients live. And oftentimes you'll find a family on welfare who've been 3 generations on welfare. They don't know any other way to live, so these people that are living with smart meters, what is to become of their children when they're being hit with these RFs, the radiation, all their lives, and then they have children who live there too? What are we doing to ourselves in letting these smart meters go into these multifamily housing units? It's really criminal. Thank you, Harry. And thank you, Nancy.
Good afternoon. My name is Oliver Holden. I live in a condominium in the Windsor Court complex in San Antonio. I became interested in the smart meters and their ill effects when it was brought to my attention by a friend, and I started looking into it. We tried to stop the installation of City Public Service. They refused. I did not have the money to take them to court, but my big problem turned out to be the radio frequency radiation that these meters emit. I have about 6 or 7 just outside. This is my bedroom that you're looking into outside this wall, and about 8 feet away there are another 9 or 10. So altogether there's 16 or 17 smart meters emitting radio frequency waves at all times. CPS says they only work, I think, 3 minutes a day. That is incorrect. They work all the time. They're putting out the radiation all the time. And so I became concerned enough to hire a radio and building biologist familiar with this. She came out of Florida and found that indeed the radiation penetrating my bedroom was sufficiently high to be of major concern. I started looking into what I could do about it, and one of the things you can do about it, what did I do with my front aluminum foil? I had it here someplace. Here it is. This is called radio frequency shielding. This came out of Canada, and what I had to do was hire someone, I can't do anything, and line the wall with the radio frequency shielding. I put 2 layers on, and it has cut down significantly the radio frequency penetrating my wall, where I spend my evenings sleeping. The windows also have radio frequencies coming in them from other directions, So I had to put a shielding, buy a shielding out of Canada, and had that installed. Altogether, I spent over $4,280 some odd dollars protecting myself from what I consider this arrogant installation of smart meters by CPS. CPS denies all of this, of course. They deny that they're a danger, and there are arguments on both sides of whether it's dangerous or not. If you start looking into it, you find some significant agencies that say it is. Not only can they tell everything you're using your electricity for, they can also invade your privacy. They've also, when they've been installed, I haven't heard of this in San Antonio, but in California, fires that set some buildings on fire, homes. And of course, like most things we're exposed to, it varies with an individual. And some are more in danger from this exposure than others. But the point is, why should anyone be? It's unnecessary. The government, the American government, allows a higher frequency. There's a magnetic field radio frequency, and there's one more, I forget the name of it. Let me see what they call that. They call it a, what they call it, there's an electric radiation that comes out of certain machinery. There's a magnetic radiation that comes out of certain machinery. And there's a radio frequency radiation that comes out of certain machines. The, quote, smart meter emits radio frequencies at a much higher rate on a continuous basis than the public has been told. We really, I understand that Texas, some cities have blocked them totally. San Antonio did not. They had the Texas Environmental Agency look into it. They did not stop them, but what really is irritating is I had to spend this much money just so I could sleep in my own bedroom. And of course, a lot of people don't have that kind of money. I don't either, really, but there are a lot of folks who just could never afford to protect themselves, and they're being exposed. And I really think there should be a public hearing at the highest level with people not involved with CPS of the danger of this radiation. Thank you very much.
Tell me what CPS stands for, the letters.
CPS stands for City Public Service. I'm sorry if I didn't say that. That's our City Public Service Company, a publicly owned utility. We need to realize that it's owned by the city of San Antonio, so I doubt if the city government's too interested in cutting down on their revenues.
Absolutely.
But all of those things need to be looked at and equally judged. The American Medical Association, the environmental section of the physicians, do say it's a danger. The health minister of British Columbia, Canada, says there's a danger. There are others that say it's not. The point is, we really need a hearing with experts from both sides to find out what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Miller again. I'm standing in front of Oliver Holden's bedroom. We just came from his bedroom showing you the kind of materials he had to do to his wall to protect him from the radiation coming from the meters. So this is the window that he talked about in the video, and it's covered with the film that was recommended by the specialists. Also, he has windows on 3 sides of this condo that he had to buy film for and cover his windows for his protection. Then the wall extends from over there to over here, that he had to put the foil on, the foil shield that he ordered from Canada in order to protect again where he sleeps at night. There are 6 meters here, 5 of which are smart meters, and which Oliver has as a smart meter. Plus, he has the meters across 8 feet away that are all smart meters, I guess, but this one. And I don't know the story on this one, but someone was allowed to keep an analog. So anyway, we've got 17 meters in all that are outside his bedroom, 15 of which are smart meters. So you see why he had to go to extra protection to be able to stay in his condo.
Welcome to The Truth About Smart Meters. Today we're going to talk about the most immediate and catastrophic threat to your home and your well-being, the potentiality of causing injury or death or damage to your property, and that is, of course, fires. Smart meter fires are prevalent all over the globe. They're happening all over the place right now. We're going to talk about that. We're going to show some examples, and we're going to explain exactly how and why these fires can do and will happen, and maybe of the potential that may be on the side of your house right now. Let's start off in Philadelphia. PECO, the utility of Philadelphia, has suspended the smart meter installation after fire. We have already right now the installers confessing to the meters causing fires. As it says, as Mr. Scott Cummings was one of the installers, it was causing some fires. Now we have more fires after the halt. We have smart meter burns up on the side of a house. We have the total running up to 26, and the fire officials admitting now that the home was scorched by a PECO smart meter. You can see the damage in all of these photos. It's very clear what's happening. The last count was up to 29. This will be continuing. Only in 180,000 installs that happened, there's already been 29 fires, and the probability is high that there was more, which would probably include some blown appliances, things like that. Seeing the damage again and again, time after time. Let's shift over to BC. 2 installations, 2 fires, 20 blown appliances at a house. So what happened was they installed 2 smart meters. They installed one, they had a fire and blown appliances. They took it out. They went back and put in an analog meter. Then without the homeowner's consent, again they walked onto their property and put in a smart meter, and they had another fire and more blown appliances, which you can see is very clear right here. More fires. Fire and smart meter knocks out a store's power. They don't know what caused the problem. It's under investigation. I think it's a pretty clear picture right now of what's happened. Wiring burns after smart meter install. This is Nanaimo. 2 home fires probed where new smart meters were set up. This is Coquitlam, BC. Sparwood, the post office. Fire happened right there. It's very clear what's happening here. Caught fire Wednesday, several hours after it was installed at the Sparwood post office. Very interesting. Must have been their fault, as the utilities always say. Alberni, smart meter swap out sparks a fire. Another one in Alberni. Fire happens 1 day after installation. So now we had a few hours after the installation. Now we have an house submission. Total house destruction happens. Very lucky that people came out alive and nobody was injured, but we have all this damage and emotional stress and trauma for a very sad reason, which we'll talk about later. We can see in Ontario, more smart meter fires. Pickering, Ontario, fire. This is Australia now, fires that are happening. California, pretty clear what happened there. Melted and deformed smart meter. This, we have more fires. Sets of fires all over the place. Georgia, Florida, Victoria, California, Bakersfield. More fires happening everywhere. Why is this happening? And why is it never the smart meter and always the homeowner? We can see here, look at all these situations. I want you to try and remember these as we move forward because we're going to talk about this. More fires. Now we have them in Texas. Totally charred and destroyed meter base, smart meter, absolutely melted and destroyed. An unspecified electrical malfunction in the electrical meter caused the fire. Look at all of these fires that are happening. Here we have huge bank of smart meters spontaneously combusting in an electrical fire. How many people have banks of these meters on the sides of their apartments or apartment complexes? Or even some people have a few outside of their house in these meter banks. Power surge, Palo Alto, California. All these smart meters destroyed. Interesting. None of the analog meters were destroyed in this situation though. We have Chicago, the exact same meter that BC Hydro is using, the Itron Openway meter, confirms smart meters involved in fires. And here's some more of the fires that had happened in Chicago. We have an insurance adjuster, a real threat to the safety of your home. Personally worked 2 large homeowner fires in which the smart meter were determined as responsible for several small fires in which appliances and computers have been destroyed. Blown appliances are happening all over the place. The IEEE smart meter fire reports from Australia to Canada and virtually all regions of the United States. And this was Cindy Bashore speaking to Enderby City Council at a presentation to talk about how wonderful the smart meters are. There is absolutely no incidences of house fires being caused by a meter. This is the exact same refrain of all the utilities. The only purpose of this is to foist all the responsibility onto the homeowner and remove themselves from liability, protecting the profits, the shareholders, and the money. This tells us that all the laws of electricity magically disappear exactly and only for the utilities. The laws of physics do not apply to the utilities, they do not apply to the smart meters, and all blame could be put onto you because you never touch your meter base, you never touch the smart meter, so it's obviously your fault, which makes no sense. We have 8-minute installations in British Columbia and really all over the place. As non-electricians taking a 2-week or a short course to run around. They're getting paid commissions for the speed that they go. The faster they go, which saves the utility money on installer hours, the more money the installers get, which finds a way to cover it up for the utilities to make it a faster and more profitable situation. Installing the only device on your grid that's not CSA approved. In Canada, that's a big thing. You want to have all of your appliances, any electrical device. If you have a fire on your home and they find even one device in your home that's not CSA approved, your insurance doesn't work. They violently remove the meters. If anyone's seen these guys pull out a meter, you can see how they jostle and tug it out because they have no regard because they're getting paid commission to go as fast as they possibly can. And then they violently ram in the new meter as fast as they possibly can to get to the next house. They don't look for anything. They don't even know what to look for. They don't see corrosion. They're not seeing separations. They're actually creating separations. And the biggest problem of all, in my opinion, they have blanket immunity. Never once can they be blamed. It's always the homeowner. So it's always someone else's fault besides theirs. So they can run around doing whatever they want, causing as many fires as they want, and they'll never get blamed. So they say this is the homeowner's fault. You can see on the right-hand side in the lower corner the separation that was caused. This was a fire in Victoria that happened in BC. This was on Check News. Notice the difference. Here's a massive separation on the right side that no homeowner could ever install. And if this fire that happened here was to happen, this would have happened a long time ago if the separation was there. But it wasn't. It was created by the installer and the meter, and this is what happened. When you get this separation, you get arcing. They're also installing these meters under load. No one's told to shut off their power. This is a very dangerous situation, not only for the installer, but now the integrity of your grid, because you get this arcing here, you get arcing, you get resistance, and you get the inevitability of fire at some point down the road. Might be a day later, might be months later, it could be a few years later, but they've compromised the integrity of your entire electrical grid by these Unqualified people running around for speed installing the meters. Here you can see what happens when you have these separations and problems with connections. Everything on the left-hand side looks fantastic. There couldn't be a problem, but when you look at the thermal imaging, you can notice where the problem is at 156.9 degrees. Again, same thing. Looks fantastic on the left-hand side. On the right-hand side, you take a look at it through thermal imaging, you notice you got a very big problem here. This is not something you want happening on the side of your home or anywhere, at any time with any connection. And these guys are making this happen. This is what happens. Arcing. You have separation, it arcs over. It has to keep the connection going, the circuit going. And this causes massive and extremely high temperatures. You don't want high temperatures in electricity and housing materials and building materials mixing together. You need those, you don't want separations, you want tightness so the circuit can continue. Now what you also have on the side of your house is this big ball of plastic that's ready to ignite at a much lower flash point than your metal and glass meter that you used to have. So now we have this thing on the side of your house that's ready to explode at any moment because of the fact of these installations and what they've done. You also have a lot of other problems. Electrical wiring is not sized for the amount of energy that radio frequency and microwave radiation. It simply is not. These are the problems you start having, and this will be happening right inside the smart meter, which you can see on the left. New wireless sources of many kinds are particularly a worry for the new smart meters that produce very high intensity radio frequency energy in short bursts. Electrical fires are likely to be a potential problem. And what are we seeing happening all over the globe? Here's the deal. These meters are receiving 928 million hertz, and that's going to go directly into your grid, and also 2.4 billion hertz from the Zigbee chips. Your grid is operating at 60 hertz. This is a definite issue. You don't want these hertz running through your grid. It's compromising your entire grid, your appliances, everything, the integrity of your buildings, all that stuff. Going right into the very important point. You see these where the top arrow is pointing down into the prongs that go right into your meter base. That's the most important part of your grid right there. Maybe the most important grid on your house besides maybe your water. National Research Council of Canada has found RF accelerates corrosion of materials. Any electrician will tell you corrosion is a primary issue for electrical problems. You don't want corrosion. Corrosion creates resistance. Resistance creates fires, heat. Here's a study that was done at the University of Akron. You can see after 1 week under radiation, the massive amounts of more corrosion. So you can think about all the connections, the electrical connections, and more importantly, that exact spot in your household grid. Again, you can see here, this is stuff that's sponsored by the U.S. Air Force Academy or administered by them. You can see all the corrosion that happens. You don't want this stuff. Corrosion causes fires, and this is what we see happening. Microwave radiating all materials of all structures, plus the people inside them and outside of them. So you have not only the meter getting signals directly into it and running all the way through your wiring, you have the routers, you have the other meters communicating to your meter at 100,000, 200,000 pulses a day. These pulses penetrate through the concrete, they penetrate through your roofing and everything. They get into your wiring, they cause issues. This is why we see so many fires as well.